Section 8, Trustee Sale and Legal Issues. Don't default. By the end of the month, Melissa had become the go-to agent in the office for homeowners facing financial hardship. Word had spread that she took the time to explain the foreclosure process without creating false hope or making promises she couldn't keep. One afternoon, a homeowner named Steve scheduled an appointment after receiving a notice of trustee's sale in the mail. Steve walked into the conference room carrying a folder full of unopened letters. "I don't even know where to begin," he admitted. "Every letter says something different. Am I losing my house tomorrow?" Melissa reassured him that the first step was understanding exactly where he was in the process. Rather than guessing, she invited David to join the meeting. David placed a blank sheet of paper on the table and drew a timeline across the center. "The foreclosure process doesn't begin with the auction," he explained. "It begins long before that. Understanding the timeline allows homeowners to make informed decisions while they still have options." He pointed to the beginning of the line. "The process usually starts when a borrower falls behind on mortgage payments. Every lender has its own servicing procedures, but it's common for lenders to send reminder notices, late payment notices, or demand letters before beginning the foreclosure process. During this time, some borrowers may still qualify for repayment plans, loan modifications, or temporary forbearance, depending on the lender's policies." Steve nodded. "So missing one payment doesn't automatically mean foreclosure?" "Correct," David replied. "Foreclosure is usually the result of continued default, not a single missed payment." He moved farther down the timeline. "If the default isn't resolved, the lender may instruct the trustee to begin the non-judicial foreclosure process. In Arizona, that begins with recording a notice of trustee's sale with the county recorder. The trustee is then required to provide notice to the borrower and other interested parties, publish the notice as required by Arizona law, and schedule the sale no sooner than the statutory waiting period." Melissa looked at Steve. "This is where many homeowners make a mistake. They receive the notice of trustee's sale and assume there's nothing left they can do." David nodded. "That simply isn't true." He explained that Arizona law provides several opportunities that may still be available before the trustee's sale occurs. Depending on the circumstances, borrowers may reinstate the loan by bringing the delinquent payments current, pursue a loan modification with the lender, negotiate a short sale, or explore other foreclosure alternatives. Some borrowers may also seek bankruptcy protection, which may temporarily halt the foreclosure process through the automatic stay provided under federal bankruptcy law. However, each option depends on the borrower's individual circumstances, lender requirements, and timing. Realtors should explain the real estate process while referring legal and bankruptcy questions to qualified attorneys. Steve looked relieved. "So receiving the notice doesn't mean I'm out of options." "Exactly," David replied. "But it does mean time is no longer your friend." He explained that one of the biggest mistakes homeowners make is waiting until the week of the scheduled auction before asking for help. By then, available options may be limited, documents may still be incomplete, and lenders may be unwilling or unable to postpone the sale. "The earlier we become involved," David explained, "the greater the likelihood we can help you evaluate every available option." Melissa then asked a question she had always wondered about. "What actually happens on the day of the trustee's sale?" David smiled. "Most people imagine a dramatic courthouse scene like they see on television. In reality, it's much less exciting." He explained that on the scheduled date and time identified in the notice of trustee's sale, the trustee conducts a public auction. Depending on the trustee, the auction may occur at a designated public location or through an approved online auction platform. The lender establishes the opening bid, often based on the unpaid loan balance, together with allowable interest, fees, and foreclosure costs. Qualified bidders compete for the property, and the highest qualified bidder becomes the purchaser. If no third-party bidder submits the highest bid, ownership generally transfers back to the lender, and the property becomes real estate owned, REO. Melissa smiled. "So that's where all those bank-owned properties come from." David reminded her that unlike a traditional real estate transaction, trustee sales usually require immediate payment according to the trustee's bidding instructions, often through certified funds or other approved methods. There are generally no inspection periods, financing contingencies, or seller disclosures. Buyers are expected to complete their due diligence before placing a bid. Steve listened carefully. "If someone buys my house at the auction, what happens next?" "The trustee issues a trustee's deed upon sale, transferring ownership to the successful bidder," David explained. "If the former homeowner remains in possession, the new owner must follow Arizona's legal eviction process before taking possession. In some situations, lenders may offer relocation assistance, sometimes referred to as cash for keys, to encourage a cooperative move-out, but those programs vary by lender and are never guaranteed." Steve became quiet. "I also have a second mortgage. I've been told they'll sue me even if I lose the house. David answered carefully. This is where realtors must be very cautious. He explained that Arizona's anti-deficiency laws are complex and depend on several factors, including the type of loan, how the loan was originated, the type of property, and the foreclosure process used. Arizona courts have recognized important protections for certain purchase money loans, including the principles discussed in Baker versus Gardner. But whether those protections apply to an individual borrower requires legal analysis. Realtors should never promise a homeowner that they are or are not protected. Instead, they should encourage the client to seek advice from a qualified attorney regarding potential personal liability. As Steve gathered his paperwork, he looked noticeably calmer than when he had arrived. I finally understand the process. I still don't know what the outcome will be. But at least now I know there are steps, timelines, and decisions, not just one day where everything suddenly happens. David smiled. That's exactly why education matters. The foreclosure process can move quickly, but informed homeowners make better decisions than frightened homeowners. Melissa watched Steve leave the office and realized that one of the most valuable things a realtor can provide during a foreclosure isn't simply finding a buyer. It's helping clients understand the process early enough to explore every available option before the trustee's sale becomes inevitable. In the next section, we'll begin examining one of the most effective alternatives to foreclosure, the Arizona short sale process, and the important role realtors play in helping homeowners negotiate with their lenders while protecting both the client and the brokerage. Online discussion. Discussion question 1. Why is it important for realtors to explain the trustee sale timeline to homeowners as early as possible? Answer. Understanding the timeline helps homeowners recognize that they may still have options before the trustee sale occurs. Early communication allows time to explore reinstatement, loan modification, a traditional sale, a short sale, or other foreclosure alternatives before critical deadlines pass. Discussion question 2. Why should realtors avoid giving legal advice regarding bankruptcy or Arizona's anti-deficiency laws? Answer. Bankruptcy and deficiency liability involve complex legal issues that fall outside the scope of a real estate license. Realtors should explain the transaction process while referring legal questions to qualified attorneys to protect both the client and themselves. Discussion question 3. How can realtors help reduce a homeowner's stress during the foreclosure process? Answer. By explaining the process clearly, maintaining regular communication, providing accurate market information, discussing available real estate options, and referring clients to qualified legal or financial professionals when appropriate.